Welcome to the Karat Juice Podcast. Here at the Karat Juice Podcast, we observe society, we digest it, and through the nuance of it all, we attempt to progress forward. I am your host. Welcome. My name's Monte Lee, and in this episode, it is my intention to give you some perspective, to give you some insight into happiness and what it actually means and what I think gets misconstrued by too many people around what it really truly means to be happy. I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to do a little housekeeping before we really get into the nitty-gritty of it, okay? And the first things first, for my audio listeners, I appreciate you. I really rock with anybody who's rocking with the podcast. And if you could do me a favor, please help me out. It would really help me out if you just share, rate, and review the podcast on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. It really helps on Apple. 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. As well, YouTube stuff. If you enjoy this content, and only if you enjoy this content, please like the video, subscribe to the podcast to get more content like this. Here on this podcast, we provide commentary and perspective on popular culture. I talk about true crime, a little dating, and I also add in productivity tips to help you to get your mentality right. I also got some content to help you possibly create your own content or your own podcast if you want to talk about things like this in the future. Now, without further delay, let's get on to the show. Let's get into what we really came to talk about here today, and that is happiness. What does it really mean? What I think and what I've started to realize is people think that to be happy, you need to have something. You need to obtain something. You need to be living in a particular place. You need to have a certain income. You need to go on specific trips and excursions and what have you. You need to have status or power. Is that something that you think happiness is? I must admit, I've thought in the past that these things are things that would bring happiness. In the culture today, this is a culture podcast. In the culture today, especially in America, we live in an age of consumerism, of advertising. The advertising industry boomed. I think it was in, the 20s, the 30s. I don't want to digress, but we had a huge advertising boom right here in this country. And during that advertising boom, we got pushed products. We got pushed, you need to have this. Cosmopolitan, you need to have the white picket fence, the house. You need to drive a Cadillac. You need to have a nice watch. You need to buy diamonds for your lady to make sure that what's that saying that they say? Diamonds are a girl's best friend, right? We've been fed all of these things. And at the end of it all, after you've worked endless hours, after you've saved money, after you've invested, and after you've done all of these things, eventually you'll find happiness when you buy that diamond or when you obtain that material possession, or you've gotten this house, but no, you got to get another house. You got to get a beach house. You got to get a yacht. You got to get all of these different things, or a boat or a dinghy or whatever it is. You need to obtain things to obtain that very elusive pursuit of happiness, right? This is what we've been sold. We've been sold this dream. We've been sold this idea that to be truly happy, we have to do what? To be truly happy, you have to obtain something, or you need to be with a certain person, or you need to go to a specific place. And it has to be some designer piece of material cloth that you're wearing. What if I told you that the happiest people in the world don't have much? What if I told you, and this has been studied, the happiest people in the world live very, very low-key lives. They usually work the earth. They usually are working in agriculture, and they see their work every day. Their happiness and their fulfillment in life is not tied to material things. I think there's something that we all can learn from what they have experienced and their journeys through life. I'll tell you a story about myself. I grew up here in Michigan. I started working at the age of 16. I worked at a grocery store, and I was bagging groceries and working minimum wage at that time and going to high school. Well, eventually I went to college, and I went to a small Christian college. And while there at said college, I got a summer job. The summer job I got was landscaping. If you're not familiar with landscaping in Michigan, it gets humid out here. It's nothing like the people down south, but it gets humid. It gets around 80, 85, really high humidity, and it is tough work. It's tough work doing landscaping. We would go out. I would work from like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sometimes we would go work early on Saturday for like a half day, but we would go and we would plant plants, trees, do grading where we get a landscape, a yard, or a residential complex or a commercial complex ready to be seeded for grass. We would make like barrier walls and retainer walls to make sure that somebody's landscape looks tight. You guys seen it before. I would think that you're familiar with landscaping, but it was tough work. Sometimes we would also do like small driveways or little like paved, I don't know, what do you call it? We would lay bricks too on roads and stuff. So we would do some of that stuff too. So it was tough work. It was out there in the heat. But I say all of that to say it was very fulfilling work. I really enjoyed it. And for anybody that's a young person that's coming up through college, I really highly recommend doing that job, because you know what it taught me more so than anything? It taught me how to appreciate working with my hands and doing an honest day's work. I think in the culture today, a lot of people are working in jobs where they're sitting at a desk, they're writing reports, or they're doing like analytical stuff or engineering or customer service or what have you. They're not really seeing their work. It's hard to see your work when you're doing work like that. And what I benefited from and what I really appreciated was going to a place at the beginning of the day, seeing it look one way, dirty, dusty, discombobulated, or, just not looking the best aesthetically, right? And then by the end of the day, the whole entire landscape being transformed and actually seeing what I did. I think there is something to seeing tangibly the effort and what you put in, what you're doing. And there's also like a degree of pride you take in your work when you're working with your hands and you're doing that type of work. And I am fortunate for that I had that experience in college, because it helped to ground me. It made me appreciative of people who do hard work and hard labor. And I want to tie it to other people. And what I'll say is having that type of appreciation for the things that you do can be utilized by more people. more people could take that experience that I learned by working that type of job. And what they can do is they can use it in their everyday life by being more present in the thing that you're doing, taking pride in what you are doing day by day. And if it's something that you is going to find a hard time doing, like taking pride in what you're doing, what is your plan on getting a position or a role or starting your own gig or your own business to where you can take pride in the work that you're doing? Shout out to you, Yoga with Denise. Greetings, Ola. She says, hey from New York. Shout out to you. Put it up here. Appreciate you. Eat something good in New York for me. So I say all of that to say that I think that happiness, true happiness, is not something that comes from material things. It doesn't come from a job. It doesn't come from a relationship. It comes from within. It comes from being present and being grateful for the things that you have going on in your life. I know it seems simple, but trust me with this. Trust me with this. Being happy is not something somebody does to you, or it's not something that people can change about you. You have to make the choice that you're going to be happy, and it's going to come with being present and in the moment with things that you have going on with your life. I know me personally, when I am anxious or when I'm not happy with something that I got going on, or if I feel rushed, or if I feel like I'm not, when I feel like I'm not moving towards my inherent purpose and actually doing something that I feel like I have, that is my passion, or I'm driven about, or moving towards a goal that I have, that's when I can feel stagnant. And that's when I don't feel like I'm living to my fullest potential. And that's when I feel the weirdest and like kind of blah. And what I'll say is, having purpose, having pride in what you do, taking everybody else away from it, not deriving your happiness from other people, is the key to having a life that is truly, what's the best way to say it? It truly feels authentic and real. I don't rely on other people for my happiness. I appreciate the people that I have in my life, but I think that's something that you decide. You decide what's going to make you happy. And if right now you're not happy in the situation that you're in, what are you going to do about it to change it? Far too often, I see people talking about how that's some dollar amount. But what if I told you, I have a study here, I might pop it up, I might not. There's been multiple studies. I might not put it up on the screen, but I'll just say, reference it here. There was a study that was conducted by Princeton University that found that once your salary hits $75,000, for the majority of people, making more money past $75,000, adjusted for inflation, it might be a little bit more now, won't have much effect on your day-to-day happiness. People who bring home less than $75,000 a year typically are going to undergo more hardships, such as divorce, ill health, while higher earners generally report more satisfaction within their lives. Yes, but the significance of the difference from 75,000 upward isn't really much. So what that tells me is material possessions alone is not going to make you happy. Now, I am a realist. Having more money is not going to hurt. And what having more money does more so than anything is this. Get my water. What having more money more so than anything does is it gives you the freedom of your time. It gives you the freedom, more options and choices. And that is a great thing. I don't think people should go and be monks and just completely forego money. I think having money, having the ability to buy things, purchase property, purchase items that you enjoy, it's a great luxury to have. But above all else, it frees up your time. Okay? People who are very successful talk about how they grind it and they worked 100 hours a week while they were in their season of growth and of building up businesses. And they talk about how they grind and they dedicate themselves and they sacrifice in the short term so that they can buy back their time later. And if you are somebody that knows that you're going to want to live a more luxurious lifestyle, you're going to want to go get on yachts that you pay for or that you commission out, or if you're going to want to go and dress all designer and stuff, you're going to have to sacrifice for a season in the interim to eventually get there. But what I'm here to tell you is the material things, the yachts and all that type of stuff is not going to make you happy. What I think is people who have purpose are happy. And if you can find purpose in what you're doing and it makes money, that's the key. That's the key to true success. When you can do something that you truly enjoy and you're going to make money off of it. I got to give you a sound effect. That's the key, okay? Don't let people give you this idea and this notion that certain things or a lifestyle that you're going to have is going to make you happy, because it won't. It is my belief that people who have purpose, who are driven, who are moving towards a goal and authentically expressing themselves and moving towards that, are people who are going to be happier. And usually that comes from people taking pride in what they do. This has just been on my heart because I consume a lot of content. I love podcasts. I love YouTube. I love to learn new things. And I've been seeing a lot of people worrying about the inflation or worrying about the price of houses, the price of everything nowadays. And I want people to understand that what you do from right now in this moment moving forward is going to determine what your happiness is. I'll tell you another story. Well, I guess it's not a story. One of my favorite movies. I don't know what yours is. Drop it in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite movie is. I'll tell you mine right now. My favorite movie is The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. Why do I love that movie? Because if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, it came out a long time ago, but that movie is a true story. Who doesn't love a true story? I love dramas, especially if they're true, because I can learn something from it. And what I love so much about that movie was the struggle that he endured. If you don't know about the story, Will Smith played Robert Garner, and throughout the movie, he has entrepreneurial motivation and ambition. He wants to succeed. He wants to provide for his family. And throughout the story, without me giving you all of the details and the trials and tribulations, he keeps on struggling. He gets evicted. He loses, he doesn't make enough money to make rent. He owes people. He has a bunch of debtors. His car's getting towed. All of these things are happening to him. He's living in the shelter with his kid. All of these things are happening, but throughout that time, he never stopped moving towards his purpose and his goal, which was succeed. To succeed. He was not going to be denied no matter what. And a lot of people, no matter what your path is and whatever your journey is, people can relate and resonate with that story. We all have our own journeys that we're going on, but eventually, with enough persistence, with enough failures, with enough bad times, if you are moving towards your goal and you have a purpose and you have focus, intention on what you want to do, eventually you'll get where you want to be. And that's my favorite movie because it's called The Pursuit of Happiness, but there were not a lot of happy times in the movie. But I think without us knowing, we are our most happy, quote unquote, and feel the most alive when there's a struggle, when there's some turmoil, when there's a challenge, when we have purpose. I think the main thing that gets lost in society is people think that your life is supposed to be easy. And when you have a lot of money and resources that you think you've made it and life is over. No. What happens more than anybody wants to talk about is people who have a lot of resources. Sometimes that's the worst thing that could ever happen to you, especially if it was just handed to you. Look at people who are very successful and wealthy, and then look at them and how they built up their money and how they're so successful and driven and have purpose and ambition and charitable and all that. Then those same people look at their children. Sometimes that's a detriment to their children if they're just handed that wealth and they never built it. Because those children, if you don't watch out, they have wasn't looking at the right camera. They have the purpose. They don't have the purpose. And what do they say? Idle time is the devil's playground. You have to be careful of these type of things. Because I'm starting to recognize more so than anything, the real meaning and purpose of life is to impact others, to put a positive impact on the world, and to constantly be moving towards your ultimate goal by getting better by 1 degree each and every day. And I think we lose sight of that. I know I've lost sight of it at times. And for me, creating content that really means something, even if it only helps one person, is okay with me. I can live with that. Because I don't want to just put out things that aren't going to actually help somebody in a profound way at some point. And I know when I was growing up and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and buying stuff that really hasn't served me, I wish I had somebody to tell me, like, you know what? That's not really what life's about, man. It's about finding something, no matter what that is. Find something, no matter what it is, that is gonna fulfill you. That always doesn't mean making money. But if you could find something that is gonna fulfill you, that you could teach or help other people, and it's gonna make money, then really get focused like a laser on what you need to do to be successful at it and to get more adept at it, and go after that, no matter what that is. If that's being a podcaster, if that's being a content creator, if that's running a business, if you have an idea, write it down, figure out a plan and go after it. Because you create your happiness. Somebody else doesn't do it for you. You have full autonomy and control over it. Because what I've noticed is happiness just gets thrown about all the time. Like, I'm not happy. This has happened to me. This has happened to me. I can't do it because of this, that, blah, blah, blase, 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 as some people say. No. You have ownership of that. Nobody else does. I understand that bad things happen to people. Some people have been dealt a shitty hand in life. Some people really have struggles, have medical conditions, disabilities. I am not trying to be, I'm not trying to be callous or disregard those people. I understand, but that's the exception, not the rule, respectfully. If you're able-bodied, you're healthy, you have every opportunity as the next person to take ownership of your happiness, whatever that is. If you want to get a Lambo, if you want to get a mansion, if you want to get a yacht, if you want to wear diamonds, if you want to have a Cuban link chain like the rappers, then by all means, create a plan and go get it. But don't complain about where you are if that's what you want. My only question for somebody that's thinking like that is that something that you want, or is it something that you think you want just because you've seen other people on social media have it? I think more people than you know are the latter, and they just want things because other people have it. I would encourage you to figure out what you actually want and then go after that, no matter what it is. Because we only got one life here. And I'll wrap this up like this. I recently saw a video that Ali Abdaal did. And in the video, he talked about a book that he was reading. I'm losing track right now. My mind is kind of blanking. Let me pull this up. But he was talking about a book that he read. And the guy in the book, I don't want to misquote it, so I'm just going to pull it up real quick. Bear with me. The guy in the book, he talked about, the author is Oliver Burkeman. And he talked about, the book is called 4,000 Weeks of Life, and it's incumbent upon you. So it's called 4,000 Weeks, right? And the premise of the book is this. Shout out to you, Star Bunny. Shout out to you. Thanks for listening. Like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel if you're getting value. But in the book, Oliver Burkeman talked about 4,000 weeks. And did you know that we have 4,000 weeks if you live to the average age that a human being lives? Everybody has 4,000 weeks if you live a full life, which the majority of people do. How are you going to spend your 4,000 weeks? That put into perspective for me, and it was just like, what am I doing with my time? Because time out of everything else we have in the world is something you can never get back, ever. How many more weeks are you going to spend doing something you don't want to do? How many more weeks of your 4,000 weeks are you going to spend doing something that doesn't serve you, doesn't serve your family, that you don't like? How about you take the next, I don't know how many weeks are in a year, the next 52 weeks, draft up a plan and figure out what you can do. So then the next however many weeks you have, you could do it towards something that you actually want to do. I don't know. I heard that from that book and from what Ali Abdaal talked about. And it really like cemented to me that, you know what? I'm only going to be putting out things and talking about things that I'm truly passionate about, that's going to help people, because I want to spend the weeks that I have actually making an impact and doing things that I want to do that I think are going to serve a bigger purpose. Whatever it is for you, like I've said before, I want you to do that. I encourage you to do that. Oliver Berkman, 4,000 Weeks, very powerful. And like I do all the time, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to keep this nice and punchy and to the point. I'll leave you with this. I think I'm going to podcast again tomorrow as well. I'm going to try to go daily. I'm going to try to go live more and try to go daily, but I'm going to leave you with this, one of my favorite quotes from none other than Bruce Lee. Absorb what is useful. Reject what is useless. Add what is essentially your own. I'll say that again. Absorb what is useful. Reject what is useless. Add what is essentially your own. I think that quote speaks for itself. Bruce Lee is so profound. I would highly recommend anybody listen to the Bruce Lee podcast by Shannon Lee. My name's Monte Lee. We're not related, but shout out to Bruce Lee, Shannon Lee, his daughter, her podcast. It's profound. If you want to get some insight on just his philosophy, his mentality, he has a lot of depth, and it can help you to unlock your fullest potential and think of things in a different way to be able to be a more productive, healthy, and aware person. I recommend it for anybody. And hey, that's been a bonus episode of the Karat Juice Podcast. If you got some value out of this commentary, this perspective on happiness and what having the right mentality can do for you, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified anytime I go live, because you never know. Sometimes I just pop up on here. You know, I want to keep you on your toes, keep you on your feet. All right. And also, if you're listening to the audio feed, I appreciate all of my audio listeners. I really appreciate serving you here on this podcast. Do me a favor, rate and review the podcast, please. 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. That's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And before I get out of here, I just want to let you know this podcast is edited, written, produced by yours truly, Monte Lee. And like I say every time here at the Karat Juice Podcast, love somebody, hug somebody, do something good for someone, not expecting anything in return. And until I see you next time, peace. We are gone. If I can get this pulled up.